There we
There we
go.
go.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, if there was ever a crazy news day, my goodness. It's like,
Well,
what were you gonna say?
I have been in lockdown in committee all day, and we're on a brief break, so I may have to jump off before our 4:30. We'll just kind of wing it.
Just
It's
let
going to be
me
that
know.
kind of day.
Just don't even say anything and just walk off. Okay.
I'm gonna hang up because I have
Okay.
to sit here. My other computer is, you can't see it. It's right behind my phone, which is what we're doing this off of. So
So
I
let's
have
get right at it. Just
multiple devices. Yeah, let's do it.
yeah, crazy day. So literally, Minister Lecce, the Minister of Education, just said that educators in high-risk areas all over Southern Ontario can get vaccinated. He did
Awesome.
mention. He also did mention in Halton. So,
Yes.
do you know anything about that, or is that just coming out of the press right now?
Well, that's good news. That is absolutely something we want to see, and I think the world changed for all of us over the weekend when we all saw the very compelling interview with Michael Garner, who said, "Look, uh, I have a patient. She was in her 40s. She got it from her husband, who's an essential worker. They had been taking precautions, and he lost his patient. She died."
Yeah.
And so it really, I think, shifted the dialogue and shifted the conversation around the strategy, which was high risk individuals in terms of age groups, and really needing now to focus on essential workers who have the greatest exposure levels. So there's two things now that we need to think about. It's not only high risk in terms of age or medical conditions or other conditions, but we also have to think of who's at greatest risk of exposure. And of course, that's our frontline and essential workers who are, keeping our grocery shelves stocked and driving our transit buses and all of the many, many things that essential workers do to keep us fed and clothed and safe, and we need to protect them because they are at greatest risk of exposure. So I think that rapidly changed the conversation even in the last few days, and you're starting to see, municipalities advocating, and I certainly have supported that. So we absolutely need to advance the essential workers as part of the vaccination strategy right now. And that includes our teachers, of course,
Yeah.
too. So
Would you know where the areas would be, or are you just hearing this from me right now? So
sorry, which area? Like where the vaccines are going to happen?
yeah, the high risk areas for essential workers in Halton to get vaccinated.
So, I think the issue is really changing the eligibility criteria on the existing vaccination clinics forms that we have, right? So you couldn't even book an appointment as an essential worker under our system. So expanding that criteria is no different than changing the form. There may be other options, and they should leave no stone left unturned in terms of mobile clinics, additional clinics. It all obviously depends on supply, but in the shortest of short terms, simply change the online booking form to allow essential workers now immediately to book appointments to be vaccinated, and make sure that they can get that in a timely manner.
The other part of the big news today was obviously the stay-at-home order and the emergency order that has been enacted by the Ontario government.
Mm-hmm.
What does the stay-at-home order mean for Burlington?
So you may know let's talk to the Insta folks out there, because I've been in committee all day, but my understanding of what I have gleaned in the brief breaks that we've had is that it closes everything except truly essential, which is grocery, pharmacy, and also blocks off non-essential goods in big box stores that happen to sell grocery and pharmacy. That was something that businesses have advocated for a long time. We need to make sure that there's fairness. And that was one of the criticisms of the most recent lockdown, was that there didn't seem to be fairness or logic to what was allowed to be opened. And when we hear statements like malls are not essential, but they haven't been closed yet, well, that's been fixed now. So, so really, it is very serious when we're starting to see the numbers that we are, and layered on top of that, the variants that are deadly. And, it's no joke. I don't, again, to come back to that interview with the doctor, I don't know how anyone can watch that and not take very seriously the need to follow the health measures that have been imposed by legislation and some that have been advised over and above that. So keep your distance from people, no social gatherings, do not liaise with anybody who's outside your household. And the exception, of course, which has always been there, is for caregivers and for people who live alone. They can select one household to join with. So we really need people to continue to do that. And, you know, in Burlington, for the most part, our infection rates are still lower than all of Halton, still lower than Ontario. You know, folks have been doing their part. And what we are starting to see and what we have seen is people getting infected at work and bringing it home to their families. So there's no question that the vaccination strategy must include immediately essential frontline workers.
I know it's literally 1 day's notice for the city of Burlington and Halton. Does the enforcement fall on the municipality or does it fall on the province? How does that work?
So it's kind of a shared responsibility. We have had, since the beginning of the pandemic, a relationship with Halton Regional Police, and they have the intake phone number. So if you see something, say something, and they will dispatch one of our bylaw officers. We have, as a council, increasingly added additional bylaw officers through COVID and funding we got from the province. We added 4 additional bylaw officers to deal with the increased COVID. So we've got the resources and, you know, and our staff will be out there. So if you see something, say something, and they also proactively check in on areas that, you know, they know to be hotspots.
And I'm sure, I know you've been in meetings all day, but this stay-at-home order was leaked yesterday, so I'm sure a lot of businesses have heard already.
Worst kept secret. Yes.
How devastating is this for Main Street? How devastating is this for retail?
Well, I think there's a fundamental difference between, say, our restaurants and bars who have to order food that has an expiry date, and, you know, say a hardware store that you know, ordered a supply of hammers. They're not going to go bad. Yeah. So, you know, some businesses are in a position to weather it better than others, an immediate shutdown like that. And there were calls from some in the community to say, look, when you're doing an order like that and giving restaurants who've, you know, stocked up for Easter very little time to respond, you know, you can help us to cover the costs of that. But I think they've already been closed. So, you know, what is left are other businesses that, you know, that have it's not good news for anyone, but at the same time, everyone I think supports wanting to keep people safe. And I'm just getting the poll. I gotta go. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Catch you next week. Take care.